Ma'am? Can you hear me, ma'am? Anderson was standing off to the side as his coworkers worked to secure the vehicle with rescue struts, the adjustable tools used to steady wrecks. Her eyes were open a second ago, Anderson, one of them muttered as he pulled out the combi tool. The hydraulic power tool was a work of art. It could both cut and spread an opening with relative ease. It was going to be a lifesaver for the middle-aged woman trapped inside. Her Honda Accord had slid onto an embankment off Ute Pass in the storm that had just passed. The vehicle was now gently rocking like it was trying to decide whether to linger on the road or give in to temptation and careen off the cliff. Boy, he hoped those struts would hold. "We're getting there, Doc. 2 minutes," Mark called out. "Hope so," he murmured before raising his voice again. "Almost there, ma'am. Hold on, okay?" The woman inside was sluggish to respond. The airbag had deployed, but it hadn't completely prevented her from hitting her head on something. She had a pretty good abrasion on her forehead. All head wounds bled a lot, but this blood flow, from what he could see of it, showed no sign of lessening as it slid down her face and into the neck of her sweater. "How's it going, Greg?" he asked. Greg, once his captain in the Army and now his coworker in the Woodland Park Fire Department, grunted as he worked with 2 other men to cut open the door. "Hold on, Doc." Another time, Anderson would have rolled his eyes at the nickname, which he'd received after delivering a baby while transporting the mother from a fire. Now, though, all he cared about was the fact that the woman in the car was now motionless. "I need her out." "If we mess up, it won't matter because the car's going to be down the mountain," Mark snapped. Mark had been his unit's sergeant and had all the necessary attributes to run a small country. He was a natural-born leader and had an innate sense of what to do and when to do it. Though Anderson was the paramedic on staff, he elected not to prod them again. Everyone there knew what was at stake. 2 more minutes passed, then 3. Sparks flew from the hydraulic cutter as Mark continued to patiently cut through the steel. Then, just as the car began to creak and groan again, Greg stepped back. "It's stable, but hurry," he murmured as he pulled a 2-foot section of metal out of the way. Anderson stepped closer and leaned in. His hands were covered in 2 sets of gloves, and his jacket sleeves were pulled up. "Ma'am, my name is Anderson Kelly. I'm with the Woodland Park Fire Department. I'm going to get you out." Behind him, he could hear Mark mutter something under his breath. Anderson knew that it likely had to do with his innate need to follow protocols. However, he could care less what they were saying behind him. All that mattered was getting the victim out of the vehicle without either doing further injury or killing them both. Even though she hadn't moved a muscle, he kept talking. He'd learned from experience that even your tone of voice could cause someone in distress to relax. "Ma'am, I'm going to wrap my hands around your chest and pull you up. It's better if you don't help." "Cut the straps and come on, Doc," Mark said. "I'll cut," Greg said. "You got her?" The woman opened one eye, seemed to tense, then gave up fighting as Anderson adjusted his grip. As Greg worked around him, Anderson thanked the Lord that the woman was relatively small. The hole they'd made wasn't big, and it would have been harder if she'd been bigger. "Got her," he replied at last. Curving his body to one side, he was able to create just enough room for Greg's right hand to slide in and clip the seatbelt. As soon as it was clipped, her body sagged, and he moved to retain his grip, half catching Greg's hand against the jagged metal. He was barely aware of Greg's sharp exclamation before pulling back on his heels and yanking the woman toward the hole. When her head was safely out, Greg helped guide her shoulders through the hole while Mark and 2 other firefighters helped support Anderson's weight as he continued to use brute strength to pull her to freedom. The moment she was out, a backboard appeared. Though he would have preferred to immediately carry her to the waiting ambulance, Anderson knew better than to transport her without more information. While one firefighter searched the inside of the vehicle for the woman's purse in order to get her identification, Mark checked her vitals. Anderson listened for the numbers while methodically locating the source of the bleeding. After ascertaining that she wasn't in cardiac distress, he quickly applied pressure. He was vaguely aware of another team arriving, along with a pair of men from the sheriff's department. Voices sounded over radios, lights flashed, and sirens continued to blare. However, it might as well have been a mile away. He was so focused on the victim in front of him.